Hey everyone, James here and welcome to a new series, TCG R&D, where we're going to be scouring the internet looking for inspiration to make our own TCGs. So we're starting off today, we're looking at the graphicriver.net, where they actually have different trading card templates. Now of course you can go on the site, you can buy them, but what I'm looking at today is actually just trying to get some inspiration for them. So we're going to have a browse through, see what they've got, see what designs we like, see what we can take back to our own TCG, and how we can further better ourselves this way, because the best source of inspiration is looking at other people's ideas, taking it, mixing it all up, mixing it all together, and then creating your own thing from it. So let's see what people have developed and let's see how we can improve upon that. Okay, so this one really caught my eye first of all, basically because of the round picture frame. So this is something that's really different compared to other TCGs. A lot of them have the square picture frame. Sometimes you get a little bit of like a fleur-de-lis, a little bit of fancy stuff on, but to go completely circle, I really like this. I think it really matches the steampunk style, because I can't quite tell from here whether they're like bolts onto an iron thing, but it really blends in very nicely. Of course, they combine it with a bit of a scroll, which is nice, because when you're creating your own art, you gotta remember you can go a little bit extra into the TCG border design, because you only have to do it once and then it's done and everybody's going to see that. And then of course the middle art is of course your centerpiece, but it's nice to have a nice frame. Of course, when we did Shard TCG, it was very basic, very simple. We went for a very transparent design so we could show the full card art rather than anything around the frame. You know, we actually went borderless as well to emphasize the full art. So we went completely the opposite direction. I think if I was making a new TCG, I would give this a go just to try something different. Now, what's clever about this site as well, I've noticed, I've seen it with a few of others. They've got like these gems and everything that they can actually symbolize for rarities. It's down here so you can customize everything. You've got element symbols to work with, so it's all very nice. You can change the shades of the frames, and overall it's a good design. So you can actually change that frame that's different to that one, which is good. You know, it's nice to have a lot of variety, but of course if you're not willing to spend the $9 I think it was for this one, you would want to take these ideas and implement it yourself, because the whole idea of making your own TCG is to be creative, starting from scratch and building everything yourself. So really we want to take a look at these, but we don't want these, if you know what I mean. But something may inspire you. So taking a look at this one, once again they've done the scroll effect. I like the more natural look with the stone, especially this little broken off bit here. You know, symmetry is beauty, but that little bit of that little imperfection, that little asymmetry in the card is welcomed as well. You know, you want these little bits, because it does just make the card that little bit more unique. But overall, stats wise, everything is symmetrical. You've got a chart here, chart here, chart here, and then same at the bottom, 1 2 3, nice and central. So everything else very symmetrical, but then just for design wise, just break it up a little bit. So that's really nice. Of course, the back of the cards as well, they've made it very simple, just a nice stone or mist effect perhaps, and then you can put your logo right in the middle there. Works out quite nicely for a card backing, really. I think card backing was something that we struggled with for a long time, and it was nice to actually be finished with that. You know, I'm quite pleased with our card backing. We were going for like a very tired look with Shard TCG. You know, we wanted a very like scratched piece of card look. So this one's interesting. I like the papyrus shading with it as well. Changing tone is interesting, but I was just thinking, could you just put a character here and have this as a background, or will it only be able to be implemented like this? I'm not 100% sure. Once again, they've done the 3 at the bottom, the 1, 2, 3 for stats. It must be a good number for them to work with, I think. So if we take a look at this one now, because I like this one because it's sci-fi, and we don't see too much sci-fi with TCGs, with homemade TCGs. The only one that really comes to mind is Chaos Galaxy, being like the most popular. But you'll find with TCGs is people will go along the fantasy route rather than the sci-fi route. But it's nice when people change up the genres, you know. We get the odd horror genre. There's quite a few anime type ones as well. And but it's nice to have variety. But I would like to see more sci-fis in the future. So with this one as well, what I really love about if you're going sci-fi, if you're going machinery wise, you can do a lot of straight edges, which in fantasy it is a bit more wavy, like say with the scrolls and things like that. It is a very curvy thing, but sci-fi you can go straight, nice and straight edges, which is so much easier to draw. Get the ruler, get the pencil, and just right, that's a metal piece, put that there, put a little bit in on top of it, and then patch it all together, draw some circle bolts on it, done. That's great, which is also what I really liked about the Steampunk, though they tend to be a bit flirty as well, you know. So of course with this bit there is some curvature here, so it isn't completely straight, but this bit is a good example. So it's just nice angles just to work with. And this one stats wise is a little bit more spread out, I've noticed. So you've got 2 stats up here, 2 stats here, and then a button here. And I did see further down, oh, there's the card backing there. It seems a bit, you could make that a bit more unique, I think. You could definitely put a little bit more to that. It's nice, I'm not judging, but I don't know, it's missing that soul, if you know what I mean. So yeah, I saw down here, if you don't want to have stats on certain cards, you can do like a emergency button or just a blanked out octagon. So Graphic River, I think, have done a good job with providing the different options that you can have. Look, you can have options for card rarities. They've got symbols that you can add to it as well. They seem to be quite on the ball with what you can do with the TCG. They've got the formula down. Let's say I'm going to put the link in the video description as well for this site, so if people want to go on check it themselves, feel free to do so. Whether you want to actually purchase it or you just want to research like how I am, and that's what I'm doing for you today. Alright, and I've found another example of circle borders, so let's take a look at this one. So right, I like this with the, how come it's darkening everything? I'll bring it up like this. Okay, so the border is really nice. It's got like a nice bit of detail there. Not that it takes too much away from the central image as well. I'm not sure about this one not having a name on it, whether that's a different option. It's alright, so it's down here instead. I much prefer it here, where it's separate from like the card effect. But to each is their own, really. As I mentioned earlier, how important symmetry is. You can see that right down the middle here, you've got the 2 stats here. Right down the middle, you've got 1, 2, 3. One's central. Right down the middle here, you've got 1, 2, 3, 4. Right, 2 on each side, nice and central. And once again, 1, 2, 3, nice and central. This is what we want. So this one, I'm guessing with the dual colors, is some sort of dual type as well, which is good for card games, because you want what we call them bridge cards. We call them bridge cards because they bridge the gap between 2 elements or 2 creature types, or an element and a creature type. But you can use it for colors as well in general TCGs. So this is a good example of a bridge card as well, just doing 2 simple colors. You don't have to have any information on the card that is describing the factions if they are by colors. It's a very passive it is a very passive way of notifying the player in that sense. So to use the color as the background is quite a clever move to make as well, if you want to save card space, which normally we want to save quite a bit of card space, you know. There's not a lot of room on these little guys. Right, so this one caught my eye, and for people who follow Shard TCG, they might know why. What is going on over here? Can I highlight that? No, I can't. Okay, so this bit here, right? I'll bring up an example right now of a shard TCG card, and you'll be able to see the similarity because our shards that we use actually go down the side like this. I need to check, right? So this was published in 2018. I think we started shard 2018. I can do a bit of research. Hang on. Alright, so it looks like the earliest cards I can find of shard TCG are actually 2019. So I guess these guys did beat me to it. But yeah, it's strange that they are just on the side like that. Maybe I did see it back then. Maybe I was inspired by it because I did do some TCG card research. I don't remember stealing the idea as close to this as possible, but you never know. Or maybe we did just converge. Maybe it is just a coincidence, but we do have a very similar system set up there. Alright, so here's another example of the resource system on the side of the card. Similar to shard as well, like the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's what we've got going on there. Of course, this one, beautiful frame. A lot more advanced than ours. But as I said before, we wanted the card art themselves to shine through rather than the art of the frame. Now take a look at this. There's a nice use of game icon symbols right there rather than using keywords in your TCG. Now if you're starting out making your TCG, take this into consideration because this is a good way of saving space on your card as well rather than banging up a load of stuff here. There's a nice little chain of symbols here, which I'm sure once you read the rule book, you will have that information to know what to do with it within the card, and it really shortens the text. I'm going to be going into more detail about this with another talk TCG that I've got lined up. It's another game icons TCG. I've been doing a lot of game icons. We now have over 100 game icons. They're going to be coming out soon. They'll be free to download. It'll be for the next talk TCG. So if you're not subscribed and you're interested in that video, hit the subscribe button now. It'll be out next time, okay? Now the back of this card is quite interesting as well because I can't quite make out what it is, which has me curious, you know. At first I thought they were dragon scales, but this seems to be pieces of metal. But the way that they're formed over each other seems a little bit more organic than actually man-made. But as well, it is an excellent use of using like a 3D image to it as well. The card back doesn't look just flat, but at the same time some people do prefer the flat style of cards because people want to recognize them as cards. So to each is their own, whichever way you want to go. There is a community to support both, though I do doubt that people are going to turn away your TCG just because the card back isn't quite to their liking. But some people are fickle, we don't know. Now speaking of card backs, this one is a little bit too plain for my liking, to be honest. I like a little bit more going on it. There's just planks of wood, you know. It's a tree and they've cut out a little square so you can put on your logo. So I think they could do a little bit more with this. Like, I like what they've done with the leaves, maybe a few more about the place just to, you know, make it look nice. But as for the front of the design, unless there's a better example down here, no. I like this wooden frame, especially this one in the grey. I think this will be like the standard, the brown. But this for like a nice natural feel. Here's a little larger image for you there. So this I like. This is different. I haven't really seen this before. And then adding the little vine to it as well. Lovely. Alright, this one is a bit different. So we've got one where the design has set back a little bit, you know, because we've been looking at some very intricate designs. This one is a good example of a more simplistic design. Once again, they haven't kept it too square either. They went for this little curve at the bottom, which helps break up the card, makes it feel more fitted in, more layered naturally, which is nice as well. You know, it's a good use of space. You know, you've got plenty of room for the art. You've got these circles to symbolize the element, I would assume, and the life, and then the damage it would inflict. Or would this be the damage and this would be, no, cost and then life? Cost and life, maybe? Something along those lines, you know. But you can see right from the get-go, you can start to tell what the card's going to do. As for room for card effects, there doesn't seem to be any. It seems a bit limited that way. It looks as if you only have this format to work with, which is a bit of a shame. I would like to have seen maybe a blank one as well, so you can put some card text in. But it depends on your style of game as well. Like, a lot of people do the card effect, which is unique to the game, but it isn't necessary to have card effects on every single card. There isn't necessarily a reason to have effects on any of the cards at all. You might have a different system in play that starts to compound the complexity of the game that isn't through creature or champion or hero effects. It could purely be through just the increasing of the creature's stats, of the card stats. But with that huge limitation, I would be worried about how the game would progress. Of course, if you went with like a support card system as well to go alongside your character cards, then you could start to introduce effects that way externally, but you're going to need more support cards into that ratio for the deck, I would say, to actually create a game that would be engaging enough for other people to want to play. So just try to take that into consideration when you're at the design stage of your own TCG. Okay, so this is what I like, because this is an example of good art that isn't like top class, like S class, A tier, you know, 5-star design wise. But it is nice. It's got that little like that more homemade feel, you know, to it. So with this, you've got the detail here, that just the level of detail isn't to that standard of like the realism standard. It's more to the standard of, you know, you're doing drawings. And of course, in a homemade TCG, you're at home, you're doing drawings. It's gonna have more of this little warm, cozy feel to it, which is what I like. Once again, with the design wise, they've introduced the scroll. The scroll is very popular. You know, it's almost as if you're looking at the creature, you're pulling out the scroll, and then you're reading about the creature. So I do like that side of it, but I do notice that it does get used a lot. And I'll admit it, even at the start of Shard TCG, we almost went down a similar route of using a scroll or a tablet, you know, to show the description of the creatures, until Richard suggested that we go transparent instead. Now take this in, notice the symmetry like we've mentioned before. We're not really seeing any like lopsided stats, not everything's piled to one side. The only time we've really seen that is with the resources on a couple of those cards, but for the most part everything is central and then will divide nice and equally there. So you've got your health, you've got your mana, both sides there. You've got attack, element, icon, and defense. So 1, 2, 3. One perfectly central in the middle. Attack type icon as well. So that's perfectly in the middle. They're not putting it off to one side. I think there is room to do that as well. You can take the scroll. You could move it into this corner here. And then you could have these stats down this way. This would open up this space here to use a larger, fuller art. And I don't see too much of a problem with that if you do want to go that way. It just doesn't seem to be the popular choice for people who are trying to sell these designs, which is what's telling me that this is more appealing than the other way. So take that into consideration as well. People are selling these designs and people will be selling them to an audience. If the audience wants perfect symmetry like this, that is what they are going to make for them. And we are seeing a lot of this in these card designs on this site today. So that just says to me, more symmetry, the better. If more people were buying asymmetrical card styles, we would be seeing more of them today, but we're not. Okay, so as you can see, there are plenty more designs on this site. I recommend that you hit the link below. It's in the description. Go on this website, do your own research, get your notepad out, know what you're seeing the most of, because that is what we'll be selling. That'll be what people want. You want to make something that people want, because that is what is appealing to our eyes. You know, human nature says, right, I want that, and if the majority want it, give it to them. All right guys, that was my TCG R&D video. Tell me in the comment section below if you enjoyed it. Tell me if there's anything I should change, because it's a brand new series. I don't know yet, but I'll see you next time hopefully. Okay, see you later.